Welcome to this week's episode of the And Both podcast. My guest is Joselyne Walter. She is a first-generation Latina business owner, honored lister on Marquis Who's Who, and featured in Business Insider. She's a marketing expert and founder of the DIGG Agency and has worked with 25 top companies on Fortune's top 500 list. So massive career and one that started in really a less than traditional kind of way. I really enjoy talking to her because without intending to talk about AI, the path of our conversation naturally went there and divulged a little bit of my AI newbiness to this and how this is one of those conversations that we probably couldn't have predicted 10, 15 years ago that we would be having with our kids and figuring out how to navigate all of that. And so it's kind of an interesting component of the interview. She has a really interesting backstory in terms of her parents coming to the US and their experience with that and how that influenced her desire towards entrepreneurship and creating her own career. And so she's just one of those people that, I could talk to her about 10 different things. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. And here's Joselyne. Hello and welcome to the And Both podcast. Here we are going to hear from moms and those in motherhood that are doing the thing that works for them. They are honoring themselves alongside the all-encompassing role and level of expectation that is modern motherhood. And we are going to hear from as many different people as possible in their own experience. So you can find people to relate to. You can hear stories that will make you laugh, make you cry, all of the above, and that we will come together as a community to support one another in a way that is holistic and honoring of the woman and the mother as a whole. Hello and welcome to another episode of the And Both podcast. I am here today with Joselyne Walter. Welcome.
Hello, Ashley. Thank you.
We have a lot of ground to cover, I feel like. There's some really cool things that you are working on that I want to hear more about. But before we start there, tell people what you want them to know about you, please.
So we'll start with I am a marketer, and you probably can't see me, but I have a shirt that says marketer along with my agency name on the side. I am now a proud marketer, but I did not always start in marketing. My biggest role that was the most pivotal was early in my career, where I was a dispatch supervisor, and my little team of 3.5 people, the half was a person that did not report to me, so try managing that. They had to dispatch 36,000 truckloads a month across North America. And I loved it. It was fun. It was a supply chain, it was in operations, manufacturing, and I eventually found my way through marketing. But everything I learned there really has been foundational to the way I do marketing. And for a while, I was embarrassed to say I was in marketing because I don't do the design, the creative, the logo. I envy and respect those that do, but that's not me. I'm more the type that moves 36,000 truckloads a month. So I execute and get stuff done.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That 36,000, that's crazy.
Yeah.
How did you even get started in that job? That's one of
So
those ones where that doesn't come up in the newspaper. Like how we're just
yeah, you
knocking
don't
on
like
the door.
pull up a job opening call for that. Huge kudos to my boss at that time. I was doing supply chain and managing inventory for a few plants, manufacturing plants throughout US and Canada. And I was always asking for more projects, more pro bono work, more things that I can get into to learn. And they were consolidating their dispatch team. So he's like, "Hey, I think you can do it." And it's a huge testament to him as a manager. And what I encourage other managers and directors to do is challenge your people, because I had zero, not a zip experience in supply chain and dispatching. And he was like, "I think you're up for the challenge and you'll do a good job." And we did.
Oh my gosh. This is the opposite of the conversation that I have with people when they realize that I have 4 children and they have, like, a newborn, right? Like, people are like, "You are unbelievably insane." And I'm like, "No, but not really." Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
you're good to
because
it.
it's all relative, right? But that
Yeah.
36,000, like,
Yeah.
that's
And it
crazy.
was
How
just 3 people. And if that's not a big, oh my God. a lot of those, a big portion of those trucks were same day orders. So these are huge semi trucks. So they would call in. If they called in before, I think it was 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, we would have their trucks loaded, dispatched, and on their way to their warehouse by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So a lot of those were same day shipments.
Where does that even like, just the scale of that alone, like, how does that even happen? What is the program that looks like? I mean, it kind of yeah, that like, what is it's like I'm all kerfuffled here, but, like, like, when you go to the airport and, like, the airport not when you go to the airport, but, like, where they have the
Yeah.
airport communications I can't think of the
Like the
word, air traffic
dispatchers,
control.
the traffic
Yeah.
controllers. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that I mean, is that what it is? It's like you're in a room and there's screens everywhere and things go and you're like,
Very similar
"Yeah?"
to that. We were in a room, well, we were in cubes at that time, and the we had 2 in the Tampa office with me. One of them was in Canada base, and then our other person was in Seattle, so we can cover our regions. And we did implement one platform that allow us to bring in all the orders into the system, and then we divided the North America into various different regions, and then each person was in charge of a certain region. And the system was programmed that it'll, and I'm using air quotes, automatically align each order with a dispatcher or a truck and a person and a carrier, which didn't always work that way. But my team would have to come in, see what was assigned, unassign stuff, reassign stuff, make sure that everything was being accepted and confirmed and carriers were out and about. But they did use the system. But that's the beauty of it. I'm like, okay, and this was, oh my God, how old am I now? A long time ago, before AI and before all that fun stuff. And we were able to do it with just three and a half, 4 people. So that really challenged me and set my mind frame of when it comes to marketing. I'm like, oh man, we can do it quicker, better, faster, more efficient if we were able to do that without all this technology that we have today.
Right? And so what did you do after that? What was the like, what is that? Like, "Oh, I'm all done moving, like, the planet in a day." What is, like,
What's
job 2?
what's funny is before that, I was doing finance. My undergrad is in business economics. And that was torturous because it was very backwards looking, and I wanted to be more forward looking and kind of take more control of benefiting the company, improving revenue, cutting cost. So I did the supply chain inventory dispatching, and after a while the team got it down to a T, and they were doing so well that they were almost self-managing themselves because the systems were so well put together. We had it was swimming, and I wanted more of a challenge. Can you believe that? So I'm like, marketing, let's do marketing.
Time to learn a new language. Perfect.
Uh, After that, I did segue over to become a product manager at that time. And because of my experience with customers, getting checks out, what they asked for, the inventory product, it was a good transition to product management because I knew a lot of the back end, that the cost that goes into that product, what the customers expect and when. So I was able to bring that talent or expertise into marketing and got my first marketing role as a product manager.
Nice. And then did it just sort of expand from there?
It did. From there, I took over more of the marketing manager side of the products. So I was trying to get our products into more commercial buildings at that time, talking to architects, designers, building owners. And it looked very different than it did managing inventory for a warehouse.
And then so you do this for a while and then now when did you establish your agency?
So 2 years ago. So I continued down corporate, and that company I worked with, by the way, it is still is the world's largest manufacturer in the world, like globally. They are number one in their building products area. So I did that for a while, continued climbing the, peripheral corporate ladder, made it all the way to director level at I almost forgot how much is it, $30 billion company in the US. So one of the top 25 companies in the Fortune 500. And then I was like, I need a new challenge. This is not, this is at that level, it's different. And I wanted to get back to executing, doing a darn good job, making sure that we're driving revenue for businesses. And I found the way to do that in a bigger scale is to start my own agency and offer this kind of work for those large corporations.
That's really cool. I feel like too when you get to that point where you move into like a director role, you're so far away from the contact point and it just becomes teams about teams at that point.
Totally, totally. You know, what's funny is during COVID, this is long enough that I can bring this up now because I'm no longer with that company. But during COVID, everyone went home, right, and worked from home. And my husband and I worked from home and we had our separate little desk, but we would hear each other on calls and meetings. And after a few weeks, he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, babe, what the hell do you do?" He's like, "You're on calls all day. Like, you don't produce any work. You don't do anything." He's like, "You're just on calls checking in." I was like,
You're like, "I am living the dream."
I was like, "Do you know those orchestra, like the guys that like, have
Mhm.
the little wands, I forgot what their names are,
Oh, the conductors?
the conductor." Yeah. I'm like,
Yep.
"They don't play an instrument. They're conducting." I'm like, "I'm the corporate conductor." He's like, "That is such crap." I'm like, "Thanks, babe, because you're an engineer."
Right? Right? You're like, "I get it, but no."
So yeah, after a while, it the work looks different, the requirements look different, politics take a much bigger play as you continue to climb, and it wasn't as fun for me anymore. So yeah, so I left and started the DIGG Agency where I can execute some of these high profile projects, marketing projects for these corporations. Come in, think of me like a marketing special ops team. My team comes in, we get it done right, on budget, on time. You get to check off, that item on your to-do list, and then we step back out and do it for another client.
And how'd you pull the team together? Was it people that you had worked with before?
Yeah. So after quite a few years of in corporate life, I've got a broad network,
Mhm.
and I have one person full time with me. Everyone else is contractor depending on the kind of jobs we're doing. So one time I had to implement a customer service department essentially for the CRO of a company. That team looked very different than the one I used to coordinate a rebrand of over 200 technical documents on a website, right? Like,
Mm.
the skill set is so different. I found out early that if I hire one type of person, I'm going to be selling short my clients. So I build the team depending on what the ask and deliverable is for each customer.
Yeah. And so what about when you're not working? What is that like? Because I feel like a conductor needs to rest. And so what does
Rust is so overrated, Ashley. So I actually also have on it's funny because I say on the side, but it's more than just a side job. I manage 5 different properties. They're properties I own from a rental perspective. So I do that, which is that comes in spurts. Like every 2 months, life is good. You're just receiving the rent income. And then on the 3rd month, pipes are broken, the city's calling for this on that product, on that building. So it ebbs and flows the effort there, but I manage 5 different properties and I've got 3 young boys. So they keep me hustling. Just today, for instance, I've got swim with one, taekwondo with two, and then soccer with another one before 7 o'clock.
how old are they?
Soon to be 11, 8, and 5.
Yeah, so you were in the moment there with all of that on these calls, and you've got little ones running around.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're at the young age where they still like me and want to hang
Mm.
out with me. So they take a lot of my attention in the evenings and afternoons.
So how does that work in terms of because, building your own business is essentially jumping into the deep end and being like, "Swim? I'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
Whatever.
out.
It's gonna be fine. I might touch these tiles at the bottom for a little bit, but, eventually I will bubble to the surface." How did you navigate doing that? Because, in your history, right, you've been thrown into more than the deep end and figured it all out. So, you have that skill set and that ability, but doing something like that takes a massive investment of time and energy and that. And when you have kids, they're like, "I don't care what you do.
Yeah,
Like, I
for sure.
still need you to wipe
0
my butt."
interest.
I don't care if you are the actual Met conductor. I don't care if you who you whatever, my butt needs to be wiped. And you're like, "Oh, there it is, back to earth there. Thank you very much." So,
Very true.
mhm. So how do you switch between that and what is that like?
So a couple of things. First one is I do know where I want to take the business, right? What's my goal? What am I trying to hit? And I am building it in a way that what I call sustainable growth, where it's good for my lifestyle and it's good for to be able to hang out with the kiddos. And yes, my 4-year-old, 5-year-old still calls me and yells, "I'm done," or the other one's upstairs yelling, "We don't have any toilet paper." I'm like, "Did you look under the cabinet?" but I am building it in a way that it's sustainable, right? I'm not
Mhm.
killing myself, and I'm also building in a way that is scalable. So I am huge on AI, huge, asterisk on that, where I'm trying to build it in a way where I'm delivering efficiently good quality work, but I am leveraging the tools and technology that's available to us now that wasn't available to us 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And I have found that building a team or an agency with the tools that we have in place today is so much more easier, and you can grow so much faster and deliver so much more to your clients with less time, less people, less effort. So that's one way, or that's the main one of the main focuses. The other thing is I limit what my priorities are to grow the business. So I try to have not more than 5 goals, 3 to 5, and that's what I'm trying to push up. So for instance, like, I've got a website, it's clean, it gets the job done, but right now it's not a priority for me to push on SEO and push on content. I just don't have that capacity, and I don't want to invest the time to build the AI agents to do that for me. And that's okay. That's number 6. I'm not even thinking about it. Obviously, it bothers me because I'm bringing it up with you, Ashley, but I'm not going to do it. But I am like disciplined to say that one is not a priority right now. And if you don't do that as an entrepreneur building your business, you will go absolutely crazy because you will never do enough. You'll never do it right. And you're always going to have the next thing to move on to. So you've got to purposely have that mind shift of this is the way I'm going to grow. May not be good enough for other people, but it's good enough for me. And this is how I'm going to do it. And this is the priorities I'm going to go after.
Yeah, that I feel like the conversation around sustainable growth needs to be shouted from the rooftops because I think in any industry where entrepreneurship comes into play, you run into, I think, especially, I don't know, I'm not going to say especially as women, but I think that the tendency is, I'm going to do this thing and I have to run it like all the way up the flagpole as fast as possible, as perfect as possible. Or if I can't run it up the flagpole perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all because it's just not right yet. And I love that the conversation around sustainable growth is, I've had this conversation more, and a lot of it is with people that have children and they're realizing like, yes, I want to do this thing and I want to build this thing. Like the way that I built my own company is exactly the same, where I can't do an 80-hour work week like ever because it won't happen, right? Like one of my kids gets out of school at 2:15.
Oh, jeez.
And
Yeah,
oh my god, that I could drag the soapbox out for that and just like someone hand me a microphone. But you can't do that, and you can't
mhm.
say, "All right, I also, these kids are in these activities and these kids are, they want to have their friends over and all this stuff," because that's the part of this is the
Yes.
time of their life where like they're home. They
Yeah,
still like me. They
yeah,
still want to like
exactly.
I wanna watch them play soccer and lacrosse and learn how to do some sort of scary gymnastics
Absolutely.
move. Like, it's that stuff. But
It's
I
a
feel like there's
choice. It's what
Mhm.
you want to do,
Mhm.
and you are very cognizant that it's a short period of time. If you look at your life, you're gonna live for, what, 80, 90 years if you're lucky? 95 years, let's give you 95. You look pretty
Mhm.
healthy, doctor. So you're gonna live for 95 years.
Right.
Your kids are gonna suck up maybe 10, let's say 15 of those years where they want your attention, they need you there. So when you look at that and do that ratio, you're like 15 years to build these memories and help build this human's character and foundation in a way that he will or she will be a good citizen. Heck yeah, I've got the rest of 90 minus 15 to work on this business essentially. So I love that you're bringing that up because it's a choice and it's damn good odds.
Yeah, and I think that for a long time, it has been sort of the fear around, if you're a company that wants to pursue venture capital, right? Like there's this overlay of like your company has to grow at this rate within this time period that is somewhat only sustainable with those 80-hour weeks, and
Yeah,
people are sleeping in the office and all of this stuff, and it's just not reality. And I think the more people that I speak with that are focusing on the sustainability piece over like hitting these massive
yeah,
targets in unrealistic time, like, will you hit the targets that you want to hit? Absolutely. If it takes 6 months longer or it's a next year thing, that doesn't knock any of the success of your business.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
it's but it impacts your ability to do all the other parts of your life along that.
Absolutely. And when if you think about it, right, those venture capitalists aggressively seeking growth companies, how much I'm gonna use the word toxic, but how much toxins are they pushing out to other people, right? With these unrealistic high demands and expectations that, let's be honest, are not healthy in the long term. They might be
Mhm.
okay for 6 months to 18, maybe 24 months, but that's not sustainable. It's not healthy. What's that opportunity cost that you're giving up trying to reach that? And right now, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and the fact that there are more people going, "I don't wanna do that either."
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I don't wanna do that, and then you have the advent of things like AI, like, I wrote about this, I posted this on LinkedIn the other day. I was a dinosaur of LinkedIn. Like, I was one of those people that was like, "I'm such a purist, like, I will write my own content, and I will put this out." And guess what that made me? Freaking crazy is what it made me. Me having a staring contest with a blinking cursor is like,
Not
happy
fun.
Monday morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
happy Monday, right? Like, "Oh, I've gotta get all this stuff done," like, blink. And so I just like I've been talking to more people in a lot of different facets and a lot of different sort of like tracks,
Yep.
and they're saying, "We've started incorporating this in." And so I'm not kidding, like, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was like, "Let's just try this." All
Oh, I
right?
love how much of a newbie you are on
Oh
this.
my god, like weeks. Yeah. No,
Only
because I
15 days.
yeah, I'm gonna put the venture capital calendar on this. I am primed for, like, exponential growth in my knowledge of AI. So I'm at this conference and this guy is talking to me. He's like, "Listen, if I can write a GPT that does this and this for my work, like, you can." And I'm like, "I don't even know where to, like, find this stuff," right? And he's like, "Oh, girl." And so I'm like, "I'm gonna try it out." Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just, like, hide in the corner of my office and be like, "I don't know what AI is. I'll just whatever." I'm not kidding. It's not even like I input a bunch of things. It spit out like an entire day's worth of work in 30
Yeah.
seconds, but it spit out the starting point, which is exactly what I needed to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay," which made the day go by so much faster because you're really actually knocking these things apart. I was like, "I'm an idiot."
You're like, "And why didn't I do this a month ago?" And it's almost foolproof. Like, if let's say you put in something that's absolutely dumb because you have no idea what you're doing and it's ridiculous.
Mhm,
What it's gonna push out to you, it's still a pretty good starting point, a pretty good
mhm.
draft. Like, you can't mess this one up. But the fact that it gives you a starting point is
Yeah.
huge. Or even if you have 2 lines of a thought, of an idea, and you spit that in with the right parameters, it gives you a close to finished draft if you have that original draft. Like, it really can improve your work in a huge way, not just you, everyone's work in a huge
Mhm.
way.
Yeah. And I think too, like, especially when you have your own business, you're so close to it. That's the part that is the struggle, right? Is you're so close to it that there's so much that you're saying is like I'm just
Yeah.
I can't be more clear, right? But there's like such a disconnect between your brain and what is
Yeah.
ending up on the keyboard. And so it's like, "Hey, this is what I want to talk about." And then, some stuff is different and some stuff is not, but it's like, "All right, this is the way." It's always like when you were in college and they said, "You've got to edit this paper
Yeah.
for whatever it is," and they give this to you. And I was like, this is the best assignment ever. But when someone says, "Write me a 10-page paper," you're like, I would rather pull my own toenails off than write from scratch. I mean, I get why AI in college and all of that stuff, high school, all of that is a problem. I totally get it. But I'm talking about, like, just for this, like, one business application starting point, not taking that in. Even 5 years ago, you're right, even 5 years ago was the speed is unbelievable.
Oh, for sure, totally. And it's funny you mentioned that. From a school perspective, I don't know how they're going to introduce it, but you can't blind students from it either. It's like Google, right? It's like the internet and searching for answers instead of going to the library or pulling out your encyclopedias to look for an answer. Like, we can't hide from it. But the earlier we adopt it and try it, I'll give it to you, Ashley. Even 3 weeks ago, is somewhat early.
Yeah, the
um,
rest of the world's like, "Who are you?" I'm like,
but it really can make things a lot faster, right? Faster and even improve the quality. I'm actually in the process because bored writing a book. I just got my last edits from my editor yesterday. But either way, even that, like I was able to give it a manuscript and clean it up in areas where I'm like, I know this was the lesson from this experience, but I don't know how to articulate it. So I was, throwing Jocelynisms into ChatGPT and Claude, and like, I did this, and this is what it made me think of, and this is how we did it. How do I
Mhm.
explain that? And it articulated it into a case study that I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted to say. I just had the lack of words. But
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff it can do, it's just phenomenal. So highly
Yeah.
encourage everyone to just give it a try. It'll make your life a lot easier.
And then so this I feel like there's a I think this is one of the reasons why I held out for a very long time is I feel like there's this tendency for AI to creep. It's like, "Oh, this is so interesting here and this is
Yeah.
so helpful. Where can I apply this elsewhere?" Like, are you an AI work purist or are you a like outside of work AI, "Oh, let me just see this." Like I know the people use it that say they plug in I have this in my fridge. Send me 5 recipes of what I can make for dinner.
And it doesn't. Try doing
Mhm.
that on Google and you'll get like sponsored, grocery, go here and buy this. Like it doesn't work as well. So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. I am not a purist. I am all over it. Down to it helped me help my friend plan her 40th birthday party, giving her 5 different options, estimated cost, depending on theme. And I was like, copy paste. Hey, friend, what do you think of these options? She's like, oh my God, I love them.
Me and my friend over here, we're just working on it. 3.5 minutes ago, we just planned your whole thing.
We just did it, and my friend is named Doug. He's Doug the Digger because the DIGG Agency, might as well get it. Yeah, ChatGPT
Oh
has a
my
name.
gosh.
It's Doug.
Love it. I love it. Mine yeah, no, I am totally, like, floored by how that's helped. So, I guess to if looking back on your past experience and now, like, what do you think the industry is like to move 36,000 boxes? Like, are they down to, like, one person does this part-time? You know what I mean? Like, when they talk about, like, adoption and how that's pulling into so many places, and marketing too.
Yeah, for sure. So moving 36,000 truckloads. So back then, and this was about 15 years ago. So this was, you know, a while ago where AI was not even a thought yet. And we were able to use it with one platform, one system. Nowadays, that system has got to be so advanced and so much more cleaner where I do think the time it took my 4 dispatchers to do this could be cut in half, where you
Mhm.
can program the system to know efficiently the system will always assign these bulk of truckloads to this one carrier, but because of what we learned, routes, other materials they have, the warehouses, that truck doesn't fit, that person, whatever reason it is, we know that carrier is not the best fit, right? So every day my dispatcher will go unassign and reassign to someone else, unassign and reassign to someone else. Well, now with technology, the system should learn that automatically,
Right.
where you're not always overriding certain things because of the human knowledge. So absolutely, I think that there's going to be a lot more efficiencies. I think the key is as leaders and managers and directors, how do you still use the human capacity and the human intellect to really take us to new levels where we don't even have time to think about that right now, right? Because they're unassigning and reassigning kind of thing.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think that too, like, where do you see it going for marketing? Because it's this idea of, like, this tool comes along, right? And then you still have so much industry knowledge and experience to say, "Okay, this is a tool in my toolbox." Like, at what point does the tool become the whole toolbox?
Yeah, for sure. And it's the key thing there is also the agencies and the people that work on an hourly basis because the work you can do today in 3 hours will probably be cut in half tomorrow because the systems are just faster, right? Designers, especially. So that model is being challenged and has to be changed. But that's where we need to think okay, well, what value can I provide that the system doesn't?
Mhm.
And the way I approach it from my client's perspective is hey, I don't, this one project, you don't have the capacity, the effort, or even the enough time to think how to implement AI. I can do this for you. I will do it. I'll do it quicker because I'm using all these tools. But while I'm at it, I'll teach your team how I'm doing it so that they can do it. And the smarter they get, the smarter I get, the more value I provide.
Yeah, I mean, you're not like, "Hey, you don't have to learn how to use this for 3 weeks before you call me," right?
Exactly. But I think it's gonna challenge a lot of people similar to the way the internet and email did, right? Goodbye
Mhm.
faxes and cell phones did. And it improved a lot. Will some jobs be lost in it? Absolutely, right? There's no
Mhm.
longer manufacturers of payphones, and there's no longer plants that are still printing out the yellow pages. But did it change for the worse? No one would say that, 15, 20 years in the future.
Yeah, and how much of an opportunity does it give people that are gonna pivot with it to change, right? So it's like, if you're buried in administrative work, if you're no longer buried in administrative work,
What can you
what
do?
else can you
Yeah.
do?
Yep, absolutely. Totally
Mhm.
agree.
I wonder though about like entry level positions. Like how are we going to still have entry level positions if a lot of that gets taken over by AI?
Oh, and that's funny because that kind of circles back to, and I didn't want to touch on it too much, like introducing AI into colleges and high school.
Mhm.
Entry level, the way you and I define it, is going to look so different 5, 10 years from now, because entry level, or they're going to have at their fingertips, literally, the knowledge, the experience, the ability to use these tools that they're no longer entry level.
Yeah, that's such a weird concept. It's like you look at the ladder and you're like, "Poof, that rung is just gone now." But does it mean that like you have to then you get into like the same thing that happened with the internet, right? It's like people that had access to the internet before people that didn't have access to the internet had this exponential growth. And so then the focus was not as much on like making sure these people had an exponential growth. It was making sure these people had access to the internet. These other people
Yeah.
had access to the internet. And so will that be and then I mean, I think there like you can totally go down the AI rabbit hole when you talk about like the environmental impact and like
Oh my
all of
god,
that stuff,
it's
but
huge. Isn't that
it's
crazy? The
huge.
environmental,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't even realize that one is
Mhm.
that part is scary of AI, the environmental impact,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and how do we navigate that? So many things.
Isn't it? What's interesting too is I've recently learned about what they're calling vibe coding, and some people are now saying, "Oh, there's vibe marketing,"
Oh
where it
god.
is, coders, not hardware, IT people are like, building a code for a program, and they're no longer entering the zeros and ones. It's not zeros and ones, whatever they do. They're no longer doing that. Instead, they're having a conversation with these bots or these generative AI tools and telling it what they want it to do, and they're going back and forth, and the system is producing out the code that they're copying and pasting and testing live. So they're not even coding anymore. They don't have to learn all these scripts because it's now you're having a conversation with someone and someone's doing it for you. So that whole industry is also going to be absolutely changed. And what does those MS information BAs now look like? Or what are they going to teach when they're no longer testing you to memorize all these different common scripts on?
Right. And then how much too, like how much is if you can, if you can sit in your living room and you can learn how to do this versus paying I mean, there's a college this year that will hit $100,000 a year tuition
Oh,
in the Northeast.
that's
$100,000. Could you like how do you justify spending $100,000 if you can access this level of learning ahead of that? Like, where does I feel like we're
isn't that
all just,
crazy?
like, in a snow globe. Yeah, we're all in a snow globe of, like, trying to figure out, like, what's up, what's down,
Yeah.
what is here to stay, and how that's all gonna change.
It's gonna be revolutionary for sure. I can't remember who it was specifically, but one of these CEOs from one of these big companies was saying that he truly believes that AI, generative AI, and everything that they're building now is going to be fundamental and impact human society so much so that it'll be similar to like fire, discovering electricity, sorry. Like what that did to society then is like what we're experiencing that now with AI.
Mhm.
So 20, 50 years from now, it's going to look completely different. Or maybe not.
It's
Maybe
a
you and I will still have the same conversation and be like, 3 weeks ago, I tried this other thing.
After I waited 10 years, I realized that there's an easier way to do my life than there Have you heard of this AI thing yet? That's like me, right? Like, I'm the kid who walks into the cafeteria and be like, "Have you heard of this?" And they're like, "We actually all just, like, made our own coding programs and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like,
It does my homework for you. You're like, "Really?" As you're, like, with your calculator.
I'm like, "I spent so long writing this paper." And they're like, "Why?" That was totally me as a student, for sure. I'm a purist. So, yeah, so for your kids, how are you thinking about this?
I am absolutely introducing it to them. With my oldest, he's not as interested in it because he's more into sports and playing Roblox and Fortnite and all that, but I do talk about it and introduce it to him. With my second, so recently I did a LinkedIn post where I wanted to have the system give me a little cartoon of what I was talking about. So I plugged it in. I told it what I wanted, what the post was about, what I was expecting, and it gave me a design. I was like, not good enough. So my middle child came up and he was looking at it and he's like, oh, can you have it make the hair longer? And everyone's looking at the camera. Can they look at each other? So we were literally going back and forth with the system, manipulating the design that was being output. And he's only 8. So I think that was super fun. He loved it. He enjoyed it, and that's how I'm introducing it to them because it's here and it's going to be in their generation. They're going to be the entry level ones using these tools.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like the idea of like being a native AI person or a digitally native person. I mean, I remember, and this, my kids love to make fun of this. Like, I remember when we didn't have the internet.
Oh, for
And
sure.
and I remember when we didn't have a camera that had like, 87,000 X on it in your pocket.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know what I mean? And, like, every once in a while, again, 3 weeks into AI, I'm like, "No, guys, like, you can, like, figure this out." And they're like, "Uh."
But why?
Right. Like, why are we working so hard?" And I'm like, That's an excellent question."
I'll get back to you in 3 weeks, kid.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go try something out. But I wonder about, I mean, our kids are gonna be AI native. Or
Absolutely.
they are.
Yeah. When we also need to, I think it's our responsibility to show them the other side. So something I have also done with my kids is show them different videos and pictures and highlight how they're fake, or it's not
Mhm.
real. And then show them like the background on YouTube of how they made that video and how it's fake. And, they need to understand that not everything they see or hear is real. It's so easy to put a fake picture out there and you think it's real and it's not.
That weirds me out.
It
Totally
is.
weirds me out. It's like, again, like, I remember a time before the internet. It's like, I remember when you turned on the news and the news was the news. It wasn't like all of these things get extrapolated and distilled into this one thing. It's very weird.
Scary, scary, but
Mhm.
fine. Let's think of the positives.
Mhm. I do, like, and that's the idea, right? Is if AI is here and it's here to stay, and how do we have these conversations with our kids? And then how do we how do you sort of like set boundaries around it in your own life?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you can't shelter them because, like you said, they're going to be AI natives, which is crazy to think. And,
It's weird.
the people that are developing these systems and pushing them out to the world, they're saying that they don't even know how far they can go. Like the stuff we're seeing is impressive, but they're like, you have no idea what we're working on. Like this is beyond what anyone can imagine right now.
That's weird. It's just like weird is the only word I can think of because it's just like, huh?
So
What do
let me
we
ask you a question. It makes me wonder, like before there were cars and everyone was in a little horse and buggy,
Mhm.
when there was talk about this dude named Ford coming up with this car thing, like what were people thinking about then? And I wonder if that's how it kind of is now, where we're like, oh, I can't believe it's coming. Or when the internet came, there's a great video with Bill Gates and David Letterman, where Bill Gates is trying to describe the internet, and Letterman is just ranking on them like, "Oh, so you can listen to the baseball game? Has anyone heard of radio?" And the crowd is laughing, and Bill Gates like, "Yeah, but it can do more. Like you can pause it and play it." And he's like, "Oh, like forward and rewind on a record player." Like so, he was totally making fun of him, and Bill Gates is like, "Yes, but it's more than that." So there's times in history where something this big has happened and we're like skeptical about it or weirded out. And it is a little bit scary.
Mhm.
But, what was that person saying when there was rumors about this car that anyone can drive, even women can drive it? Oh my God.
Oh, right? And unfortunately, that notion is still going strong. Although we've moved into cars, they make a flying car now, but still, oh my god, even women can do it is still a sentence that gets uttered. That's
Uh,
another box. That's a bigger
that's a whole
soapbox.
another conversation, especially when it comes to career and growth and building your businesses,
Mhm.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah. And so in light of, like again, like being more efficient in work and being able to build a sustainable business and do it that way, what are the things that sustain you that don't have anything to do with anybody else?
Couple of things. I do have big faith. I am big believer that there's a greater being. In my case, it's God. The Holy Trinity. We go to church, and that's the biggest thing. That's my garden. I have to have faith in something bigger than myself, that it's gonna be okay. And God's looking out for me, even if I may still be drowning and I haven't yet come up for air in the business, but like I
Licking
will
the
come
bottom of
up.
those pool tiles.
I am my toes are wiggling on the tile, but I will come up. Like I've got that undeniable faith that it's going to be okay. And then the second thing is my family. I do enjoy watching my kid's soccer game. I enjoy
Mhm.
my youngest watching him learn how to swim. And I'm not going to be apologetic about it. That is the chapter I'm in my life right now. It'll be a very short chapter, but yes, I am no longer a corporate shark that's traveling 30% of the time at work and, moving around 36,000 truckloads a month. And that's okay. That was a great, very cool, impressive chapter. But this is my chapter now. And I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm happy about it. I'm proud that I can do all these things today.
And that, I mean, that is like your story too. Before that, right? Like your parents came here.
Yes.
It's an evolution of that story. You said
Absolutely.
your parents came here when were you born
No,
here? Were
I
you
was born in the States. My
okay.
parents came from Honduras. Funny enough, they both traveled from Honduras to the States when they were 18, but they didn't meet until they were in the United States. But what's
Oh.
interesting is my mom only has a fifth grade education in the place where she was grown or grew up, and you could only get an elementary school education equivalent to elementary. And then you basically had to go to private school or go to work, and they couldn't afford to send her to school. So she went to go work. But if you meet this woman now, she barely even has an accent. Like she reads great, she articulates very well. I mean, she is a phenomenal woman with only a fifth grade education. You would never guess it. And then my dad, he had a high school equivalent degree and he was studying to be an accountant, but when he came to the United States, that didn't count for anything.
Mm,
He started welding as a welder, which nowadays you can make a killing in a career
mhm.
of welding, but he was welding garbage trucks. So that was his job. He would go into the garbage trucks, which by the way, they still smell even after you wash them. And he would weld the steel together to make sure that they were not falling apart. So both of them had a very interesting upbringing and have built this great life here. They're citizens, they are Republicans too, if you want to know. And they instilled so much in me. But yes, very interesting upbringing for sure.
So your mom, oh, okay, so she came here when she was 18, because I was gonna say if she didn't come here when she was in 5th grade,
No,
because that would be a hard yeah,
the
that
United
is
States will put you through school. And Honduras, no, you're done in fifth grade.
that's really crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's I want to say unheard of, but in reality, it's still the case in a lot of countries outside of the United States for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that could be a whole education rabbit hole is
Oh,
another one.
okay. And I just reread the story of Malala, the
Mm,
15, yeah. So, yeah, that's a whole nother soapbox and a whole other episode.
for sure. Has your mom ever like, has she I'm sure she's talked about it, right? Because you seem really comfortable to be like, "This is what it is." Like, did your mom ever say, like, "I'm gonna go and continue on my education," or was she like, "Nope, this is what I got, and I'm gonna do what I can
So
with
she
what I
was
got."
focused on two things, memories that I have when I was younger, learning English, which is
Mhm,
funny because I learned English when I started school because I would only speak Spanish to them and still do. But I remember her, I feel like she learned English while doing homework with me. Like, I think she sat next
Mm,
to me and did the homework, like, if it was assigned to her. But I have memories of her and I reading books and not knowing how to say the word in English, how to pronounce it. But prior to that, before I started school, she would also go at night school to learn English and then also to study for her citizenship. Because the
mm.
exam is in English, you're learning history, and you don't even learn history in elementary. So I'd have clear memories of her going to school at night, and my dad and my sister and I will pick her up, and she'll have these books with her. And that's what she prioritized here is how do I learn English so that I can communicate? How do I learn about this country so I can get my citizenship? And then her focus was on raising us in the best way she can. And
Yeah.
might I say she did a damn good job.
Right? All signs point to success. And then do you speak Spanish with your kids?
I do. I do.
Okay.
So I speak Spanish with them. It's hard though because my husband only speaks English, and they're at the stage now where they don't want to speak Spanish to me. And I'm like, oh, come on, you little buggers. You know what I'm saying.
You're like, "No, no." It's hard, the language at home, I wonder about that, like, when, when you sort of have, like, your parents are the ones that come here, and that's their culture, and that's their
Mhm.
history and everything, and then that gets instilled to you as first generation. It's like,
Yep.
how many generations do you go out before it's like, "Oh, my
Great.
great-grandmother spoke."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to keep up, especially when you move to different locations, spouses, the areas you're ingrained in.
Yeah, and especially if you have a non-speaker as a partner, because then you're like, "All right,
Oh, it's so hard.
all of you."
You're like saying something in Spanish, and then you got to go translate to the husband, and then to come back, and it's
Mhm.
not as effective anymore. Yeah, especially as they get older.
Yeah. Random question, but this is one that I'm always curious about. When you count in your head, do you count in English or Spanish?
I count in English. But what's funny is randomly Spanish takes over. So, oh god, I can't remember what it was. There was something. It was a billboard. I can't remember exactly what it was. But I was trying to read it in Spanish. And I was like saying it out loud in Spanish. My husband says it like tomato in English or whatever. He says the word in English. I'm like, oh, it's in English. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. My mind was just trying to read it in Spanish.
Like, I'm stuck in the wrong track. I gotta it's like the Game Boy. I've got to pull out the game and blow on it and stick it back in to get it to work. Like,
And it was a billboard, and it was something dumb, but I don't know why my mind shifted to Spanish to read it in Spanish, so and I failed.
it's fine. The tomato does not have hurt feelings about the whole experience. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And so when you think about the future, when you talk about sustainable business building, what are you looking forward to? Like what's ahead for you? Business and kids and life and
So, business wise, I am looking forward to a point where my contractors and my extended team are also AI forward. I find that a lot of them are still a little bit shy, or if they're
mm,
working for me on a specific deliverable on a specific project, they don't want to get it wrong or they don't want to test the waters outside of their craft. So I'm looking forward to the day where it's generally accepted and I'm like, hey, we have, recent project, 180 documents, and we've got to get rid of the old product name and insert the new one. Where they're like, oh, cool, let me just quickly build this, generative AI tool or this bot and have it automatically do it. Like, I would rather them spend 2 hours figuring that out. And then we have that we can use for a bunch of other clients versus them taking 4 hours to get it done the old way because it's right, it's easy, they know it, and they're comfortable with it. So I'm looking forward to the day where more people are accepting and promoting the use of AI in their day to day jobs, work wise.
yeah. I think that's interesting. Yeah, it's that idea of like becoming more efficient to become more efficient, but still being the person who, clicks enter or return or go or whatever it is.
For sure. And then it's no longer a taboo, right? It's no longer like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. Instead, it's a conversation of, hey, look how fast I did it, how good the quality is. And because I had extra time, I did this for the client as well. Like that would blow people's minds. They're like, awesome, you did that and this? Sweet. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I like that. And then what do you said you are working, these contracts are big companies, right? And so where can people find you if they are, I'm hoping there's some massive companies who are like, you know what I want to do is I want to learn about the experience of motherhood and whatever else it is. So the people that
For
are listening
sure.
to this episode.
So the website where you can find me at is www.thediggagency.com, and dig is with 2 G's. So DIGG agency.com. And then there you'll have links to email form, my LinkedIn page, and you can contact me through there.
Nice. And I think
And
that your website is lovely.
thank you. It gets the job done.
Gets the job done. Do you know how many entrepreneurs I know who are like, I have all of these things and this like website. Like, it's like everything moves so fast and you just want your website to update with things that are moving that way. But you're like, I can't stop moving in that direction to go back and bring this up to speed. So you are not alone by a country mile on wanting that to come up to speed.
When I met an entrepreneur a few weeks ago that he did a really good job on his website, self-taught, which it's impressive on its own. I'm like, I paid someone
Hmm.
for mine. And then he's like, now I'm going to really boost it up to be number one on search engine results page in Google and really focus on SEO. And I'm like, do you want a job on that? Because it'll be a full-time job. And is it worth it? Right?
Right.
Like, you can pay someone to get that done quicker for you, and by the way, it's not gonna be done in 6 months. This requires a lot of authority building. I mean, it's a whole industry in of itself. Let's not. And then a couple of weeks later, he's like, "Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole. I'm not doing it."
You're
I'm
like,
like,
good.
"Yeah." Or he can learn how to do that and then change his offering, right? Do that for other companies.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, I wish you all the best with upcoming spring sports season because I'm thinking of you in
Busy,
the fact that it
you
is
know
busy.
it.
But it's good. It's a good busy. It's not a not overwhelming busy, but it's a good busy.
Absolutely, and you're very well familiar with it, so you got me beat by 1 kid.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where it would have been. Yeah, would have been he's my second is 10. So he would have slid right in there. But if he had a couple brothers, he would be thrilled. I mean, he has one, but if he had like a whole pile of brothers, he'd be thrilled. And I'd have no house left because I'm
Absolutely, you don't
already
mind it.
I'm already fighting the soccer balls and lacrosse balls and like, the things that are on the cabinet that we can't replace seem to be the best place to be like, "Mom, can I show you how many times I can dribble the soccer ball?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not." It's like, "Don't you want to see?" I'm like, "I do. Out there. We have windows that show me the outside world and I want you to be there."
Oh, boys. So much fun.
Yes. Well, I hope that everybody who needs or knows someone who needs some marketing agency work will reach out, and I will put all the links in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Ashley. I just sneak that one in there. I love it.
Love it. You too.